Cool. Well, Gary, we'll start with the good news from last week. Going back on winning ways again with a thumping win. You know, how much of a boost has it been this week in training since that victory?
I think everybody enjoys training after a good result. You know, because it was a emphatic result against the team in our league. It wasn't in the National League competition, but it's still in a competition that everybody wants to do well in with a Wembley final. So it had a lot of meaning, but as I said in our previous meeting last week, it was more important to get a result, and so that we then could go into training nice and confident, get the boys, you know, sort of smiling again, although they're pretty good trainers anyway. So it was a good win for the atmosphere, because you know, people do, human nature, you do train with a smile on your face a lot more than when you've won than when you've lost, especially if you've lost a few. And we needed to turn it around, so a little bit of drastic action we had to take, you know, two debuts, you know, that sort of thing, and we came out trumps, so that was good.
Is it too easy to say that those two new players coming in made that much of an impact?
It is, yes, because you know, there were some good performances from people that we already know. I was really pleased with obviously the two strikers created a lot of opportunities. Our midfield and our defenders created a lot of opportunities for our strikers. Seiko could have had 4 or 5, quite comfortable. Reedy might have had another 1 or 2. So we certainly created the opportunity, but you're pleased when your shape looks decent, and the new players that could just step into that and perform without being the sort of man of the matches, if you like. At the same time, they both played a very important part.
With Seiko as well, because we all know what he can do, saw what he did last season. It's taken him a while to get his first goal for Torquay, but now, you know, you kind of feel that the shackles could come off.
Yeah, it's not took him that long, has it? He's been injured for most of the time, and I think he had 1 or 2 games, did he, where he hadn't scored after coming back from injury. It's like them all, you know, we haven't got the squad that I can put them in the reserves and give them a couple of warm-up games, if you like. You know, they have to go straight into a difficult league sometimes. And, you know, when that happens, you know what they've got, and you just, you know, you're waiting for people like, you know, Jake Andrews and Connor Evans, you know, that are all been injured this week. They may or may not be back, you know, with Thursday, and we're still, you know, touch and go on a few lads. But you know, you have to bring them straight into the fray, and hope that you know, their footballing mentality and their intelligence will get them through a game sometimes.
Well, you mentioned the I word, we'll talk about it. So those two
what was the I word?
injuries.
Oh, yeah,
I guess it's been kind of pinned
it?
up over that. Well, it is,
Yeah,
all of it. Those two that you just mentioned, so Jake and Connor, plus a couple of the longer term ones, where are we with everything at the minute?
Well, so a couple of the longer terms are still longer term, obviously. Armani, Davis, Frank Vincent, they're still a little way away. Asa Hall is never far away, but we've got to, you know, make sure that his is cleared up, because, you know, if we get him back too early, then that his type of injury could go again. So, you know, we've got to make sure that he's 100%. And then Connor, Jake Andrews, you know, they're very, very close. I'm sure they're putting themselves up for selection this week, which is unbelievable as far as Connor's concerned, because it looked like a bad injury at the time. But, you know, touch wood, it wasn't as bad as first thought, and he's back with us and training, and we'll see how he goes today to see whether he's in the match day squad.
So Saturday, Chesterfield, what are your thoughts on them, how they've been going recently?
Well, I I always say you have to respect them, because you have to respect every team in this league. I've said that a million times, but it's very important to say that. We've proved to ourselves that teams at the bottom end of the division can beat us if we don't play well. If we do play well, then we can beat the top end of the division. So it's whatever one of my teams turns up on the day. Obviously we work very hard to try and get the second part of that conversation, where we need our team to turn up and play well. They always try to play well, but sometimes we don't quite manoeuvre the opposition's tactics sometimes, or whatever it is. They get a bit of luck, we go behind, you know, and then it's teams do take their time over ball in play, that sort of thing. You know, there's not much ball in play. So we're hoping that our team will turn up. It turned up last week, that's for sure. And they never not try. It's just the nature of this league, you know, unless you're miles ahead of everybody else. You better rely on the consistency of your players, your method, and we've got to try and get ourselves back in to touching distance of the playoffs, at least at the moment. That's got to be our aim, and we can do that with the number of games that are coming up in the next couple of weeks.
A lot, yes.
Yeah.
Just very quickly, the two new signings last week. Is the squad pretty much fixed until January comes in, which is only half a month away, isn't it?
Well, sometimes I've said yes, and the following day I've signed somebody, because that's what happens. You know, I have to see what comes out of the physio room. The physio tells me, yeah, he's back in a couple of days, or he's back in a week, and obviously we've got the situation at the moment where we've got too many loans. I don't think Opie will be back yet. We was hoping he'd be back soon, but there's another one. Frank was a loan. So I'm going to have to look at that, because you can't have 8 loans all fit. We know we got 2 that are not fit. So what we got to do is make sure that you know, we're not bringing anyone into Christmas and not playing them. So I'll be having a look at that, and like I've said to you, you know, I've got to have a good look at the squad, and I've got to make some big decisions. And as you know, I've made a couple already, and I've got to make a few more.
To do. Cool.
I think it's a little bit on both sides, really. It's what he needs to do is what he did just before he came off, because he hasn't played for a long time, so we didn't want him injured.
That was a great run to set up the goal.
It was a fantastic run to get. And he threatened it a couple of times, and a couple of times it come off, not quite, went past 3 players every time, but that's what he needs to do. He needs to show us why he has played at a higher level, and if he can do it at this level, because a lot of people that come from the high level sometimes turn their nose up a little bit at the National League, and often you get clubs, not in this case, but you get clubs and players saying, oh, he'll slaughter that league. Do you know what I mean? Well, that don't happen.
No.
And so he's got to bring his best game out at this level. And we haven't seen it yet, but we've seen parts of it. But he was very new. He'd been here like 2 or 3 days. You know what I mean? I took a chance on speaking to people at Man City and speaking to other people that know him. And he's a quiet, nice kid. And
the fans are going to love him if he can do that, aren't they?
Well, exactly, and that's what you always need. You know, we obviously got Calvin as well, but you know, Calvin has to be a little bit more consistent. As we all know, you know, he's very frustrating sometimes because he's got so much ability, but you know, in possession he's very good. Out of possession, he needs to learn the game, and it's probably similar, although Aaron is probably a little bit more au fait with the defensive side of things. So it's, but you know, we've got those two. You know, we've got Ben Whitfield. You know, I always have players that can go past players. Seiko really can with a bit of cleverness. Jared will with a bit of bullishness. You know what I mean? So we've got to put teams under pressure.
Yeah.
And we've got to make sure that we make them defend, and that's always my regime. And at the end of the season, you can either slaughter it or praise it.